Hi there. I got some good response from my previous demo for the EVH 5150 red channel pack for NAMM. I thought it would be a good idea to show you guys inside my mix. I'm trying to keep the mixes for these demos very simple. My main goal with these demos is to showcase the packs and also making them very quick. The best way for me to work quickly is to use good samples. For example, in drums, I'm using Superior Drummer 3. I'm using the Andy Sneap Kit 1. It's basically the first one I loaded up for this demo when I was writing it, and just wrote with that sound, and I didn't want to change it later. But these are great because they come pre-mixed. It's very easy to tweak all these plugins within Superior Drummer, and it just makes it to where I can work pretty fast. I also use the GGD drum samples. They're great. So between Superior Drummer and GGD, I have my drum samples covered for my demos. For the drum programming, sometimes I use the built-in drum editor from Superior Drummer 3, but I like to write my parts to my riffs. So I rather use the MIDI editor from Studio One. I've been using it for some time, and it's really easy for me to work with. These are the drum parts for this song. So since we're on drumming, this song, or this demo, it's a 128. I use a triplet click to track the guitars. Let me show you why. So if I use the regular click that's in 4/4, it's just a mess. But you don't hear the click because of OBS. Let me render it. Okay, so this is with the 4/4 click. So tracking guitars to that click, it's hard for me. So what I do instead, I make a Studio One doesn't let you do triplet click, so I create an instrument track with a click and set it up in triplet. Set the timeline as triplet, and then build a click. And now when you track your guitars with this triplet click, it just helps you a lot with the feel. So quick tip. Okay, let's hear the drum solo. Cool. Now let's look at the bass guitar. For bass, I use Eurobass 2. This one over here. Works really well. What I do with the bass track is I set up 2 identical tracks with the same plugin, and then I label one clean bass, one dirt, same performance, and then on the clean one I use the clean amp sound, and then for the distortion I use the distortion sound, and then for the distorted sound I focus on the area that I want to hear, which is the distortion. I don't want to hear the low end distorted on this track. And then I put a limiter on it. And then I do the same for the clean, but with the bass side of it. I kind of carve out the middle, which I don't like so much in this for this track. And then I do a limit as well. And then for the bass bus, I do some EQ, further cutting down the middle, and then taking care of this little whistle, and then a limiter. Like I said, very simple, but it's all using a good source, good samples. Now let's hear what the bass sounds like. I basically don't want this thing to move in the meter. I just want it to be flat. Now let's hear it with the drums. It's my drum programming. I mean bass programming. Nice. Now let's look at the guitars. For the guitars, I have a rhythm guitar bus. It's a screen one. Contains 2 tracks, left and right hard pan. They're both set up the same. First plugin in the chain is Helix Native. I used the hard gate and a Klon model. It's not so mid-heavy like the Tube Screamer, which I like for this tone. Then both of these go to the guitar bus, rhythm guitar bus. Here I have the impulse response loader, dual mono, and I'm using OnHammer 412 Ampere V30 Cut 00. I'm using this IR in the whole mix. Then we go into EQ, high pass, low pass, and taking care of this little rumble. Then I go into a multiband compressor. I turn off the low, mids, and high bands. I'm only working with the low mid band. And I set it to for between 104 and 430. Just kind of takes care, keeps this area in check so it doesn't go out of control with the palm mutes, and it makes the guitar sit better with the bass. Let's just hear what this does. Just a very little gain reduction. I'm not sure if it's coming across on YouTube, but let me make it stronger so you can hopefully hear what it's doing. So it's a good way to kind of EQ your guitars with a compressor, because it still kind of leaves the full sound, but when you do the palm mutes, it doesn't go out of control. Cool, let's hear the guitars by themselves, and then we'll bring in the bass so you can see how they're working together. So you can see the bass is a big part of the sound. Let's hear another section. So that's the role of the bass in this mix. Let's hear another section on the guitars. Like the chugs. And with the bass. It's that tractor bass thing. I like it when you stop your guitar riff and you can still hear the tractor bass going in the background. Like this. All right, let's look at the guitar layers. The first one is this little accent section. This is what it does. Gets like an octave. And then on this one, just really playful riffs. And then without that section, this is what that sounds like. It's just add that little extra high end to cut through and sound a little creepier, in my opinion. It's small, but you feel it. Then For this one, I use so here's a good example to how to save CPU. So when I'm mixing these, NAMP takes a lot of processing power, especially my models. So what I do, once I get a sound that I like and the performance is right, I render the track, but I can transform it back to real-time audio, and now we can look at the plugin. For this one, I use, I guess, the same model. And then I use the same IR, and I guess I EQ'd it the same. Yeah, very, very similar sound. The only reason I didn't put it in this bus is because I didn't want 4 guitars going into this impulse loader. So I separate them and I control the level better and things like that. Now let's look at the leads. For the leads, I have a bus with 2 tracks the same. I record the intro to the lead in one session, and then do the arpeggio in another one, and then finish it with this one. I don't really learn my songs until after they're done. So when I'm tracking, I use every shortcut that I can to get a better performance. And also, very important, very, very important, I can't stress this enough. All these guitars up here in the rhythm, they're edited already. If I don't edit these, all these little chugs, unless I play them perfectly, they just sound really wacky. I get them pretty close, but I still have to do a little bit of editing. And I stress you guys, find a good system to edit your tracks quickly. I edit as I go, as I track. Sometimes I try several times to get it right, get it as close as possible, and then edit. That way you get a very natural sound. Now let's look at the lead bus. We have an EQ, carving out all the low end, carving out some of the spiky stuff. I do these moves in the mix while listening, just to make sure that the right parts are poking out. We go into the compressor. Love this compressor. I use it on a lot of things. And I like this thick picking preset for this. And I adjust it. I think I raised the hi-fi just to cut a little better. And then let's hear what that sounds like. Oh, also very important to this lead is the send to the hall reverb. So for the hall reverb, I set up an effects track, and I set up Helix with the hall, dynamic hall. These are the settings. And then what I do is I send it pre-fader. That way I can adjust the send level, the effects level, and the dry sound completely independent of each other. Let's see what that sounds like. Oop. Okay. And then let's hear it with in the mix now. And without the hall reverb. So you can hear the hall reverb is, where is that? It gives it that epic sound. Okay, let's look at the second lead, going into the break, into the chugs. I first didn't have it on, and this part just sounded it sounded like more of the same, even though I did change the groove and going into like a break. like the silence there, but it was too empty. So I decided to add some kind of ambience to it, and it didn't make sense to add it here at the end. I had to go back and introduce it right here for it to make sense leading into this part. So I introduced the chorus riff first, and then I repeated it with the lead. Let's see what that sounds like. Cool. And then I kind of exaggerated it towards the end, so to make sure that it would just carry on through that silence. And then as far as the little drone thing, it's just one string, very fast picking. And then towards right here, maybe 56 or so, I start bending the string, and it just kind of creates that droney feel to it. Let's hear the rhythm guitars in this section. Cool. On the chuck section, everything is the same. The only thing that changes is the riff towards the second half. It just gets into min mode. I like this sound where the guitar feels like it's going to explode. And the last thing in the mix, it's this thingy guitar. It's the eerie layer in the verse. So let me transfer it to real-time audio. For this one, I'm using 50 watt 236 press 6 gain 1 low gain, and then probably using the same IR. Yep. And then an EQ, carving out all the low end so it doesn't, well, this one doesn't interfere with anything else. I just wanted that eerie sound, and bass wasn't gonna cut it. And then a compressor. Then I send it to another hull, which is a little less than the other one. And let's see what that sounds like. It's that eerie section. And without the, for example, like without the EQ, so that's on and off. And then that's it. Then on this section, in the second time, I do both sides. So this one is just the right guitar, and then this one is both guitars. And I just do that to keep you guys interested. So it's a different feel than this one. It's similar. But when you hear it, you perceive that your brain perceives that change as something new. So that's it for the mix. I do some automation, just some fades and levels, and I wanted to increase the level of the drone as it went out. Very minimal here. Sometimes I go a little heavier on that. And then for the master bus, I use a mix tool to bring down the overall level of the mix, going into the FG Gray compressor. I just recently got my Slate subscription again. I used to have it before, but now that I'm doing these demos again and do stuff for YouTube, I got it again, and so I really like them. Sometimes I use the Waves SSL comp as well. I really like it. I use Revival for a little bit of high end and low end. Still getting used to this one. The master compressor. I think I get a little pumping. I still need to work with it. Sometimes I use Brainstorm. Is it Brainstorm? Yeah, Brainstorm master deck. And I've used Fat Filter before. Then I mix tool and Restream for OBS. Well, that's it. I hope that this was useful, seeing inside my mix. I know that when I was learning a lot of this stuff, I would watch videos and they were always very useful, even if it's just one thing that I pick up from it. So hopefully it will have that same effect on someone out there. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and let me know if you want more videos like this going inside the mix. Thank you for watching.